Why do survivors of trauma want connection so badly, but then they pull away as soon as anybody gets too close? And if you're in trauma recovery, you probably relate to that question. And that's why one of the characteristics of complex trauma that we've identified is the longing for intimacy, but the fear of intimacy. And so let me just give you a wee bit of background to this. Research is showing over and over again that one of the child's deepest needs that they have is to attach to their parents. They can't meet any of their own needs, so unless they attach to other people who can meet their needs, they're going to die. So connection is this driving need in a child, but it goes beyond just connecting. We then want to be authentic, and we want to be seen, known, accepted, loved. We want deep, true intimacy where we're fully known, fully accepted. We can be fully vulnerable. That's the foundation of a healthy relationship that's very satisfying. So we have this need of connection, but we have this deep longing to be fully known and be authentic and accepted for who we are and to communicate at that deep level. So a child comes into a family wanting that, trying to get that. And if they don't get it, then that's one way to understand trauma. It's traumatizing for a child. That feels like rejection. They get hurt. They feel abandoned. They feel alone. They feel not seen, not heard, not accepted. That's a very traumatizing thing for a child. And so the dilemma that a child faces is if being authentic and the desire for intimacy leads to hurt, then that means that being authentic and desiring intimacy with people in general is going to lead to hurt. So I long for it, but I'm afraid of it. So let's break that down. So the truth is that authenticity and vulnerability with unsafe people, and that's the key, always leads to rejection and abandonment and hurt. Authenticity and vulnerability with safe people is the only path to true intimacy. So the child's desires were right. The goal was accurate. What they didn't realize it was the other people that they were trying to connect with. That was the issue. In their world, they were trying to connect with unsafe people, and that therefore always led to a negative conclusion. You're going to get hurt. What they needed was safe people. So what comes out of that for the child who is trying to connect, to be authentic, who is being vulnerable, and they get hurt and hurt and hurt, they then go, it must be my fault. They don't see that it's other people that are the fault. They go, I am the issue. So now they develop a shame belief that they're not good enough. They're not lovable. There's something wrong with them that prevents people from loving them, that to really valuing them. So that just sets them up for all future relationships. I long for intimacy, but my fear is that if you get to know the real me, you're going to reject me and abandon me like everybody else. So I'm going to try to get close to you, but as soon as I start to get close to you, I'm going to move away. So they have this internal conflict, this drive to attach that says move closer, but a protective part that says pull away and stay safe. If you become intimate, you're going to expose yourself, and that means you risk being seen for who you are, and that means you risk being rejected. So now every time they get into a relationship and they start to get close to somebody, all these voices say, threat, threat, you're at high risk of being hurt and being rejected. So they go in two directions now as a way to try to resolve this. Number one, they go into relationships that end up having a push-pull dynamic. So they try to pull the person close to them. They try to pull close to the other person. That's the desire for intimacy. But then the protective part pushes in or kicks in, and now they push that person away. You're going to hurt me if you get too close. I got to keep the walls up, so I push you away. And so the relationships are push, pull, and it's so confusing for the other person. They don't know what to expect on any given day. Do they want me, or are they going to push me away? The second thing that people do is they try to develop pseudo-intimacy. So is there a way to have the feelings of intimacy without risking vulnerability? And the reality is you can get the feelings, but you don't get the true satisfaction if you go to the pseudo-intimacy route. So for many people, you will relate to this from your own experience. You get into a bar room, a sports team situation. Everybody's upbeat. Everybody is positive. There's warm emotions. There's laughter. There's camaraderie. You all feel close because you're on the same team. You're in the same place in life. That gives the feelings of intimacy. Meanwhile, nobody shared one thing about themselves that's deep. Nobody's been vulnerable at a deep level. Then you can go to groups where you can be super open and deep in one area. An interest, a hobby, the spiritual life, recovery. And you can go super deep with people in one area, but you haven't been vulnerable in other areas. So it's a partial intimacy. And then some people, they resort to gossiping. Let's just talk deeply about other people. Let's text and phone each other about problems in the world, about problems with other people. Or some families go to let's do everything together. So we're constantly playing games together, having fun together, watching movies together. We feel close because we do everything together, but nobody shares openly. And honestly, there is a long list of things you never bring up in this family. And then some go, who needs people to create feelings of intimacy? Let's do activities that connect to activities. So addiction, that creates the feelings of closeness. Porn addiction, sex addiction, all of those create feelings of connection, but not with people, but with things. And so again, you get short-term little feelings of connection, but you don't get true, satisfying connection that only comes out of total authenticity, vulnerability, and totally being accepted, seen, and loved for who you are. So what then do you do to change all that? Don't try to force yourself into intimate relationship in a heartbeat. What you realize is to build true intimacy, you got to find out if a person's safe. You got to then share little wee intimacies in small doses and get to know them gradually better. That's how intimacy gradually builds. You don't do it in a very quick step. Then you learn to grow your window of tolerance by letting them into areas that make you feel really uncomfortable. And instead of running and pushing away, you allow it. You learn to tolerate all of that. And so over time, gradually, your system is learning that closeness can be safe. It doesn't necessarily mean danger and rejection. Understand this is a gradual process. Understand this only will happen if you are finding safe people. And the final thing is you got to walk through the uncomfortable emotions and all the fears that are going to get triggered as you start to allow deeper layers of intimacy. So please understand there's no magic fix to this. This is retraining your nervous system that has spent years following math that was true in your experience, that vulnerability and intimacy with unsafe people always leads to hurt and rejection. Now you try to find the safe people. And now you try to learn what healthy intimacy looks like.